Hey everyone, welcome back. We are kicking off today's video with a seed sowing special. These are the first seeds that I'm going to be sowing for the 2024 season, with exception from the sweet peas and chilies that I did a couple of weeks back. They are kind of special seeds that obviously I would have completely missed the boat if I hadn't sown them. But today's video is the first bulk seed sowing for the season ahead. I plan to grow my whole allotment and home garden, vegetables and flowers from seed as much as I can. So today I'm going to be setting off 22 individual varieties of vegetable seed. So stay tuned for that. As with any seed sowing project, I've got a few pieces of equipment. I've got some cell trays to obviously sow into. I have some individual trays that I've already started off, and that all my warm season stuff. So I'm going to actually sow my tomatoes into there. I'm going to do some pricking out because I need to give my little pansies some more space. And yeah, just some various little pots and some just all-purpose compost and the obligatory cup of tea to keep me going. So out of the 22 varieties, I have 10 tomatoes, and then the rest are just general sort of veggies that I cannot wait to start sowing. So I'm going to be sowing a few of these actually when I get back home, which are better off direct sown, which is why I'm not going to do them up here today. Because if you've ever, has anyone ever like obviously gone to the garden centre, seen a pack of carrots on sale, like obviously germinated in a little cell pack, get them home, plant them up, have the best hope for the best tomato harvest, and then only to find out that they forked and then they didn't grow. And that's literally because they can't be transplanted. It's very rare that they work out, so definitely something to bear in mind if you're looking to grow carrots this year. They like loose, free draining soil, and they need to be direct sown, and then you obviously thin them out to the distance that you need. So I can't do it up at the allotment yet because the ground isn't quite ready, but I am going to be sowing early Nance 5 into my pallet collar bed when I finish up here today and when I get back home. So they are a great, beautiful, sweet variety. Early cropping ones, which are great. And I grew them last year, and then obviously if any of you knew from last year, I thought they had bolted because we had such a hot May, but actually it was a weed, and I ended up pulling out the whole crop. I ended up eating them. They're just like little finger carrots, so they didn't get to obviously maturity. But yeah, we all got a little laugh off of that video if any of you were here from that time. So I won't be making that mistake this year. That's early Nance 5. Really reliable, really enjoyed that last season. And then I'm going to be trying a parsnip, which is called a ramata. Now I do usually grow true and tender, but the seeds that I have sown already were actually 2 years old. So I'm going to get fresh seeds because I have heard that parsnip seeds do not work very well after the first year of having them. You need fresh seeds every year. So I'm going to do a second sowing of parsnips with this variety, which it's supposed to be a uniquely sweet flavour, which is supposed to be firm and juicy. And the leaves of this variety are also edible, but I think that's true about parsnip leaves anyway. But basically it's a zero waste crop. But they looked, when I picked them out off the So Diverse website, they looked just like real, like meaty, substantial parsnips, which is definitely what I want. And I missed them off of my Christmas dinner last year. So an absolute must, and I'm going to be sowing in both home and up here. So the other varieties that I have, let's talk about brassicas. So I grew so many brassicas in my little tiny garden last year, and I'm actually not going to be growing them in the tiny garden this year because of just how big and bushy they are. You absolutely can give it a go, but maybe just pick one or two. Like I think I had 6 Brussels sprouts all in the raised bed, the massive raised bed that I've obviously taken out, and I think 3 of them grew perfectly. But I am going to be going with the same variety as last year, which is Igor F1. So prolific, very productive, and just did so well. Really enjoyed the variety. It's supposed to be a compact plant, but mine grew really big. Most of my brassicas do. It must be like what I have in the soil. I have obviously a lot of bought in compost at home, so it'd be interesting to see now how this variety does up here. I do plan to have a dedicated brassica bed up here, which I'm going to show you a whole layout of my garden plan when we get into obviously sowing the seeds. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how the allotment might look and what beds are going where. So stay tuned for that because I am dying to share with you the plans. I'm going to give a cauliflower a go. This is supposed to be a compact, tight headed sort of cauliflower variety. It's called All the Year Round. Haven't grown cauliflower before, so I'm super looking forward to giving that a go because it's one of my favourite vegetables, and as you know, anything with cheese I am a super duper fan of. And the other brassica that I'm going to be sowing is called a red ball, and that's another variety of Brussels sprout. So obviously I think from the name that it's going to be a slightly different colour, so I'm really looking forward to trying that. It was sent to me from my friend who has literally just started her YouTube channel. She's called Two Pot Posies, and she's another Irish grower. So if anybody's looking for anybody else in Ireland to follow, or you're interested in following more gardeners, she's literally only just started her YouTube channel. She may have a new video up now, I'm not too sure, but she only uploaded one video there a couple of weeks back, and she's primarily into growing flowers. She has a beautiful story about how the whole thing came about on her YouTube channel at the minute, so I'll give her a link below. But she's a good friend in the gardening community to me. She was my secret Santa. She sent me some amazing things, of which I'm showing you this. I'm actually just sowing another thing from her next week, and she sent me a cool tomato variety that I'm also going to sow. But yeah, if you're into flowers, she does also grow veg, but primarily her hobby and her passion is flowers. So I'm absolutely thrilled that she started her YouTube channel because I have so much to learn about growing flowers. So go check her out. It's Two Pot Posies and her name is Sandra. So head over there after you finish this video and go and check her out. I'll leave a little link in the description below so you can go and check her out. So that's the last of the brassicas that I'm actually going to be sowing. Before we get on to the tomatoes. Tomato. So as we are coming into spring, it's a great time of year for cool season crops that don't particularly then grow very well later in the year towards like May and June when it gets a little bit warmer. So I'm going to be concentrating on a few salady items. So I'm going to go with the radish crunchy mix. This is a beautiful, like, gives you an amazing range of colours. You don't quite know what you're going to get when you pull it out of the soil. Grew this actually under my tomatoes last year because I always felt the space underneath the tomatoes was always such a waste. So I did that as a bumper crop sort of thing underneath the tomatoes, and it did really well. I think I sowed them possibly a little bit too thickly, but really reliable, super tasty. Chuck them into salads. You can even cook with them. They're really nice sauteed up. So and they crop really quickly. I think it's only like 30 days for these to crop. So I'm going to be going in with the radish. I'm going to be doing some moon red lettuce. So I always find that slugs go after everything that's green, but they don't tend to go after purple crops. So because it's obviously still quite damp in the run up to spring, I'm going to be sowing this purple variety of lettuce, which is called moon red, and it's a cos style lettuce, and it grows these beautiful, deep, dark purple veiny leaves, and it was just a thrill to have that in a salad because obviously you have loads of greens, don't you, like rocket, mizuna, just your normal cos lettuce, but when you get another colour through it, it's just so much more appetizing and pleasing to the eye when it's on your plate. So that's the reason I'm going to grow that. And I absolutely love cos lettuce. Like, if there's any small space gardeners out there, like, that's obviously all I really know is how to grow in a small space, and cos lettuces are really like little gem, and obviously this moon red, they grow really small and compact, so you can fit a load in and then you can succession sow and then fit a load more in, so you get quite a high yielding amount of lettuce from a really small amount of space, rather than loose leaf lettuce, which I also love too, which I will be growing. But I think the cos and the little gem and the moon red type varieties grow really quick, and they're just like a quick win in a really small space, and they help you manage like a really limited area. You could probably even grow them in a window box, they're that small. I'm obviously going to be going in then with a slightly larger cos type lettuce, which is winter density. Did grow this last year, and because we had such a warm September, it bolted, so I didn't get too much off of them. But this should obviously, I love cutting into like an iceberg type lettuce. So this kind of reminds me of iceberg a little bit. It's going to be slightly bigger than little gem, and it's going to kind of bulb up and round. So looking forward to that. I am then going to go for a spinach, which is a Mikado F1 bunching variety. And this variety I've specifically bought because it's resistant to bolting. So I think if I sow it on now, it'll get like a good cropping season off of it. So when the weather heats up, it won't go to flower. It should continue cropping for me. And I absolutely love growing spinach. I think it's so versatile. You can add it to a salad and also cook with it. So I just think it's such a little versatile little plant. If I could have beds and beds and beds of baby leaf spinach and bunching types of spinach, then I would. But I can't dedicate all the space just to spinach, but it is really lovely. I actually grew spinach under my tomatoes before the radish went in, and that worked out really well as well. So I might do that again this year. And then going on, so more leafy greens. I've got some pak choi, Canton white. Now, I don't know if it's because I transplant it and that pak choi doesn't like transplanting properly, or if it's just I've had bad luck with it. But I always find that this grows really, really big leaves at the tip, but not much of like a white sort of stocky heart. So I'm going to give it another go, because I love to make things like ramen and like stir-fried noodles. I've been eating ramen like every week now for like the last 3 weeks, because it has been obviously chilly. So I just go home and it's so quick to knock it up. And then I just love like Chinese style cabbages in those type of dishes, and they're just so like nutritious and warming for you. So that's why I'm growing that, because I think I'd get so much use of that in the kitchen. And to date, I haven't really had great success with it. So I want to really kind of up my game in terms of that, because it's just so versatile. And then I've got a couple of warmer season crops here, which are basil. So I'm actually going to put this on the propagator when I get home. I'm going to sow it into the tray that's here in front of me, which has got all my other warm season crops in it, so that they're all together. But I'll take you through what's actually in this little planter very, very shortly. This is purple ruffles basil. So it looks a bit different. It has kind of like jagged edges on it, which I thought was kind of interesting. I think it would give a little bit of like diversity to the garden. I just think it would just give it a little bit more shape. And I grew purple basil last year, and it was very resistant to kind of the damp and humid climate. It grew better than the green basil. So that's why I've picked that one. And I think it'll just give nice texture with that tooth-edged leaf that's on there. And then the last thing that I'm going to sow, which I'm going to actually direct sow when I get home, is an Asian green mix. So in this mix I have Komatsuna. Never heard of that one before actually, but it's got Mabuna and Mizuna in it, and Amsoy. So that's the reason I've picked that, because I love Mizuna and I love Mabuna. So I thought I might as well just get a whole mix and grow that. Komatsuna, I think that's how you say it, yeah, Komatsuna. Yeah, I'm literally just going to sprinkle this onto the surface of the raised pallet collar bed when I get home, and that is going to be literally cropping. They're really, really quick to crop, these type of mixed leaf sort of selections. So I think that'd be a really nice like early spring salad type variety. So I'm really looking forward to just like getting going now and actually seeing all the seeds germinate, because it's just been like so cold the last few weeks and nothing's really growing, obviously, other than the stuff that I've got in the house, which is my chilies and peppers, which I have in front of me here. So in here I've got all my chilies, which are looking good. I need to actually get some bigger containers so I can pot these up. But I have here are my, was it Corno de Toro, or people calling them red bull's horns, is that what they're called? And that's these three here. So I have 3 of those going. I have my ahi mango, I've got 3 of those here. And then I have my 2 mini chocolate peppers, and then I have these here are bell peppers. I also have like 2 containers of bell peppers at home that I've obviously don't have the heart to get rid of. This is the problem. So I love to sow seeds and I love to grow everything. And I think like I can grow more than I have space for. But I also went really thickly, do you remember, on those pepper plants. So I was unsure. I'd saved them from a home bought pepper from the shop. So I was like, oh, they were like 2 years old, the seeds. I thought, oh, look, I'll just wing it, throw a load in. And obviously they've all popped up out of the soil. So I'm like, I didn't have the heart to get rid of them. So I'm just going to pot them all up and I'm just going to give them away, because I didn't have any faith that they would germinate. Because you always hear like stories of like using fresh seed and things like that. But you would really be surprised what will grow from an old seed packet or just something that's laying around that you think's old. Other than the exception of parsnips, because my parsnips definitely haven't come up. And I do genuinely think that's true of parsnips. So the other bits that I actually have in here are some aubergines, which is this row here. I actually had great germination on those aubergines. I've heard historically that aubergines aren't that great at germinating. I sowed 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Did I sow 12? I think I only had 6 seeds, did I? There's more than 6 plants there. Well, anyway, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2. I have 5 that look good, and then I've got another 2 that look like they're poking up out of the soil. So I've never grown aubergine before. Super excited for that because I love making like stuff like baba ganoush, and I love like putting into like you know, like into an oven tray loads of like peppers, onions, tomatoes, aubergines, and roasting it and just having like Mediterranean mixed veg with like olive oil and a few like oregano herbs and things like that. So like it would be amazing to get them. Now I don't know how many I'm going to grow, and I don't actually know where they're going to go yet. I do have them on my tiny garden plan that I will show you. I'll probably show you that one next week, but yeah, I'm conscious that they're a warm season crop and they can be quite temperamental. I've seen from obviously following other gardening channels that they can be difficult to obviously crop and yield a big amount of produce from them. So I just need to do a bit more research on that because it's a very new plant to me. And then I have some cucumbers here, which I don't typically sow this early because I usually grow an outdoor variety of cucumber, which is called Marketmore. But this is called Louisa F1, and I got no success of it last year. So I just thought, oh, there's 3 seeds left in the pack, I'll just pop them in. And I'm telling you, that propagator is the best thing I ever bought. It, like, yes, it was €100. Yes, it was a big investment, but I've had unbelievable germination on my warm season crops. So I just cannot recommend it enough. So I think, yeah, it's the Garland 4-top propagator, and thrilled with it. And the quality of the trays, these are the trays, I just absolutely love them. They're a little bit more sturdier than these ones, and yeah, just cannot recommend it enough. And my electric bill hasn't gone up either really, so I just think it's negligible. It doesn't really cost anything really to run, so thrilled with that. And then I have just a few bits of basil in here, but this coming back to the cucumber, get sidetracked again. Coming back to the cucumber, this will be a smooth skin cucumber, and I normally grow Marketmore, which has got, it's kind of prickly. So I would love to have like a proper smooth skin salad cucumber, because I do love the Marketmore ones, but my ones last year, like I did end up having to keep peeling them because they were quite that prickly on the outside. I mean, you can brush them off, but when they've grown so big, sometimes they get really, like, their skin gets a bit tougher and it's not as kind of smooth and kind of as thin to cut through. So it's the mouth texture on it can be just a little bit more like tough. So yeah, thrilled with those, and they're looking good, and they're just literally starting to put on their second set of true leaves. So yes, whilst this is the first bulk seed sowing, I have had a few things on the go, but that is literally it. That and a few flowers. Now I'm going to jump into my 10 seeds of tomatoes that I'm going to grow. And you know what? I don't even know where they're going yet, because obviously I've told you I want to get the greenhouse. But like the 10 varieties that I've got are definitely not going to fit into a teeny tiny greenhouse that's going to fit in my size garden. So I may need to come up with a solution into the allotment for some any overflow warm season crops. But like the garden plan that I'm about to share with you is full to the brim. So like, I don't know, I need your help. Where am I going to put it? What am I going to do with them? Because I have to grow them. I've sent some unbelievable varieties that I've been only dreaming of growing, and I've run out of space. The season hasn't even started and I've run out of space, basically. So out of the 10 varieties, I'm going to sow 2 or 3 seeds of each, because I only want maximum 2 plants that I'll keep growing on. And then I only really want to be planting out 1 of each crop, but obviously I'll sow more than 1 seed in case I have germination problems. So my usuals, let's start with the basic ones that I grow every year. So I have red cherry. This is a really reliable cropper. It is prolific, and it's a really early cropping variety, so great in a small space because obviously you can control the height of it. It does need staking, but you get a really early cropping variety. If you want to grow them outside and you're worried about blight and things like that, you will typically get a crop off of this if you sow it early enough in the season. So if you want to grow them outside, get yourself some of these seeds. You haven't grown tomatoes before, give these a try. They will ripen up pretty much quicker than any other variety that I've ever sown, and yeah, they're just a joy, and they grow on these beautiful long vines. You could get like 20 on a vine. They look like the, you know, the fancy ones that you buy from the shop that are usually more expensive. So they're just so fabulous. And then you can just, like, I had some of these in a window box as well, so if you're really stuck on space, you can grow them in a container, and I grew them on an inside window, and they were so sweet. The ones I grew inside were actually nicer than the ones I grew outside. I I have no idea why. They grew in less soil, they probably had less water. I probably looked after them less, but what I did is, like, when I start editing my videos or I'm replying to comments, this is a great little snacking tomato that I just had on the windowsill next to me in my office. Then I have 2 more that I grew last year that I actually started off really late in the season, so it's still early. If you can't get round to getting your tomato seeds until April, there's still plenty of time. I actually grew these in May and I got crops off them. Now, albeit it was less than a punnet of tomatoes, is that what it's called? Like a tray, like less than 5. So I have tomato later, which is a bushing variety. So that means it's a determinate variety. So it will grow to a determined height and length, and it will just sprawl. It's a bushy one, so you don't prune this, it's not vining or cordon, but it grows beautiful salad variety tomatoes, and it's a really, really early cropping variety. I'll put the amount of days on screen that it takes. I don't think it's written here, but it hasn't. It's like one of the earliest cropping tomatoes that you can have. So I'll pop that on screen for you. And yeah, I grew it last year. Beautiful size salad tomatoes, which is a nice alternative to the cherry tomatoes, because obviously sometimes it's nice to have a slightly bigger one that you can slice. Obviously these won't be big massive slices, but it's just nice to have the variation from the cherry, which is why I grew that. So the other tomato that I'm looking to grow is a Costoluto Florentino. I grew this last year, and just the shape alone just brings me so much joy. It has these really like deep indents, and like it just looks like a miniature pumpkin for all the world, with like the big sort of like wedges the whole way around. And you cut into it, it's kind of less watery than a cherry tomato and a salad type tomato. It's quite meaty inside, and it's really good for slicing, putting in tomato sandwiches, that kind of thing. But I didn't get that much off this last year because we had such an early blight, and I grew them all outside, which is the whole reason why I want a greenhouse at home, because I actually saw so many people growing their tomatoes. Obviously all the outside ones were completely done for, but most people kept like their polytunnels and greenhouses closed, and their tomatoes actually lasted the season. So that's the whole reason behind getting a greenhouse. But also coming on to the really fun varieties after this Costoluto, but that generally has slightly quicker time as well for the Costoluto sort of chunkier tomatoes. It's kind of a quicker cropping one, and I grew it last year and I loved it, and I really want to give it another go this year, starting it earlier, because I think it will give it a better time in the season than what I did last year, because I only obviously started them in May, which is pretty late in my area to be growing tomatoes if you want a yield of red tomatoes and don't want to be left with a glut of green tomatoes. But you know what? Green tomatoes are actually all right. I made so much chutney and I did fried green tomatoes, and I would actually just grow green tomatoes. I need to probably get a tomatillo, I think, maybe next year, because there is so much you can actually do with them, and I really enjoyed it. And I made beautiful chutney that I had at Christmas on my cheese boards, and I just like, just harnessing that little bit of like what you've made and putting it on the table is just like, I don't know, it just gets me. Like, so even if you get green tomatoes this year, look up some recipes. If you like chutney, if you like cheese, if you like cheese boards, it's definitely the way to go. And obviously fried green tomatoes as well. I was given that recommendation from a friend in America because it seems to be quite popular over there, and they were also super tasty. So don't think that you can't use crops in certain ways if it doesn't go to plan. That's one of my main learnings, I think, from last year. And now I move on to some really cool varieties. Now, I feel like I definitely need to give these people a shout out, but I kind of want to wait until their gardens are looking nice, because I feel like I'm going to give people a shout out. People are going to go over to their channels and it's going to be barren. So I want to give these people an opportunity to obviously have their gardens looking plush before I go shouting them out. So I will shout everybody out that has given me a tomato, and all other seeds as well. But I just want to wait until your gardens are just looking like 10-10, because it's all just, you know, I have a different shade of brown soil to your shade of brown soil at the minute. So I will obviously go into bigger depth when these are growing, but I'm just going to run through the varieties there now. So I have a pink bumblebee cherry tomato. I had a look through the internet just to see what this looked like, because I don't actually know, and it seems to be like a pale sort of orange with kind of little tigery type stripes on it. So that looks really interesting. It's a cherry variety, and I think obviously this was sent to me before I got the allotment, so I think it was a really beautiful thing, because it's like suited to my growing space, like a small type variety, which is why I picked the cherry tomato originally, and it's just a slightly different variety. So I think that'll give great colour, which I think will be wonderful. I have a tomato pink boar. No idea what it looks like. I'll have a little Google when I get home actually and see what that looks like, but it sounds really, really cool. I have a Tim's Taste of Paradise. If there was one tomato I wished I had grown last year, it was this, because everybody was going on about how amazing this tomato actually tastes, and I didn't have it and I felt very left out. So I'm so grateful that I was sent this, because it's supposed to be one of the nicest tasting tomatoes. I think it's a yellow tomato from what I can remember when I saw this being harvested, and they're quite small, and believe it or not, everyone is saying it lives up to the name, so I cannot wait to give that a try. And then I have Orange Accordion. It's very similar to the Costa Luto, but it is actually bigger. So it's a big multi sort of, no, it's not like multi-seeded, but it's like this big, looks like literally an accordion. I know that sounds stupid, but it's like just big wedges of tomato, and it's just like huge. So really looking forward to trying that, because it's just so different. Like, you just don't see those in the shop, do you? They're a really different thing. So I also have a Brad's Atomic Grape, which is supposed to be like a multicoloured type tomato. And when I was doing my research on this, it is supposed to have a different taste. So it's a very unique tasting tomato, the Brad's Atomic Grape. It's supposed to be a little bit like a hop. It has kind of a slight beery sort of like taste profile to it, which I thought was interesting. But I think the thing that would be really cool about this is obviously it doesn't turn red. So you obviously, not that you'll be unsure whether it's ripe or not, but obviously you just give it a little squeeze and know that it's ready. But I just think that would be so cool just to try. And I don't think it grows too big. I think they're kind of cherry tomato sized. So again, suitable for my small space at home, and cannot wait to try that. And then I also have Black Shadow, which is 2 tiny seeds, and I actually don't know what it looks like. But my friend Sandra sent me this one as well, who I mentioned earlier. So she sent me the 2 tiny seeds. So hopefully I'll plant both of those and they'll grow. And then the last ones that I have in the tomato section are a mini Mazzano tomato, which are just beautiful, aren't they? Kind of like plum type ones. I buy them from the shop anyway. So to be able to grow those would be amazing. And these 2 that I'm talking about now, so I've got the mini Mazzano and I have the Barry's Crazy Cherry. Both of these come from Wild Boar Farms in America, right? And I have been watching so many Americans on YouTube sowing all of these amazing variety tomatoes, and they all come from this Wild Boar Farms place. So I'm very, very grateful to Robin to sending me these, because I would never have been able to have the opportunity to have these seeds without her sending them to me. Obviously you guys know Robin, I've shouted her out before on the channel, but I just want to say a big thank you to her, because I would never have them. So I'm really grateful, and I feel so like inspired by watching other YouTubers grow these types of tomatoes, but I've never seen them in an Irish seed catalogue, so it means a lot to have these. And there was a fun story last year on the channel when I grew the cherry tomato, and a lot of the seeds I grew ended up growing a lot bigger plants than had been advertised on the packet. So I was convinced this cherry tomato that I had last year was a Barry's Crazy Cherry, but obviously it wasn't, because I think they're yellow. And I just had this massive like I don't know, like mega bloom of miniature tomatoes that were growing off one of the cherry tomato plants last year. So I always telling everyone this is my version of a Barry's Crazy Cherry, but actually I have the seeds here that I get to sow, so I'm so excited for that. And then obviously the Mazzano that I was talking to you about before I got sidetracked with the Barry's Crazy Cherry. The Mazzano are just beautiful, beautiful plants, beautiful shaped fruits. They're kind of like little plum tomatoes, and they'll just be so super sweet and beautiful. And I get to grow something from Wild Boar Farms, because I just think that's just so cool. I've been watching a lot of YouTubers that use that seed company, and I'm so grateful to have the seeds that I'm able to sow myself, because I would never have them otherwise if I didn't have these friends. The last 2 seeds that I'm going to be sowing are herbs. I'm just going to sow them into little pots, like little elho pots like this, and I hope to actually make a dedicated herb planter out of a barrel later in the season. I just need to maneuver a few things around to obviously release the barrel that I have for them. But I'm going to grow some coriander and some parsley. I grow parsley all the time, and I love coriander. I love making things like Mexican food, like guacamole and nachos, and obviously ramen. You can stick that on ramen. And I love making oriental type foods where celery. Coriander is obviously used. I get so much enjoyment out of cooking, and I always feel like the herbs is actually something in my tiny kitchen garden at home that I'm running out of the most. So I need to up my herb game and get an abundance of herbs so that I have loads, because I never quite seem to have enough. And obviously the parsley that I have it's still in the ground and I'm still harvesting little bits of it, but it's gonna obviously go to seed this year because it's a biennial, so it flowers in its second year and then it will like reseed itself. So I might actually take some seeds off of that because this packet is getting old now. I've had this packet for about 3 or 4 years now. So that is a summary of everything that I'm going to grow. I'm going to little potter around here now. I'm going to prick out some of these flowers and I'm going to talk to you about my plans for the allotment. I've done up a beautiful variety of plants. I've coloured it all in. I've, where possible, done it to scale, and I'm really looking forward to sharing it with you. So I'm just going to clear down the desk, pull in some compost, and I will meet you back here. So I'm literally just going to fill up this tray. How many trays is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 18, 54, 60. My quick maths is getting good, guys. Right, so I have a 60 cell tray that I'm going to prick out these. And pricking out, literally all that means is just like taking it out of the multi-sown bed that you've got there of compost and then putting that into individual cell trays so that they can obviously grow on, and then there'll be perfect little plants that I can then pop out. But 60 wild pansies, I've never grown. Like, anybody that knows me from the while that I've had the channel will know that like flowers are not my forte, and I've gone and grown myself 60. Well, I hope there's 60. Well, I have space for 60. So I actually do need to get myself one of those potting trays so that I can mix in some vermiculite. I think that will help me this growing season to have better drainage and stuff with my seedlings. I haven't had a massive problem with damping off this year as I did to last year. I think propagators definitely helped with that. But I do think if I get some vermiculite, I think it will definitely increase my success with seed sowing. But I just love this now. So I'm just gonna get over the other tray just so I can push those down. Probably didn't need to do as much as I did. And I'm gonna pre-moisten the soil actually as well on these. Just making some indents there, just making sure that they're fully down. That's easier with my fingers, just to get rid of any air pockets so that it doesn't all sink then when I get it wet. But I'm just going to, there we are. Don't they look beautiful? I love the little patterns on the leaves, little baby pansies. These were a wild pansy from Seeds Island. Great germination on them, and I'm probably going to set off a few more of these as well because I've got so many plans for the flowers this year. I'll pull up the plan of the allotment that I've put together and I'll talk you through everything there in just a second. I'm going to go and fill this up with water and I'll be back. So I just filled up this container and I didn't have a watering can, so I just used a propagator lid, dunked it in some water and just let it trickle across the top. The watering cans are at home because obviously I have mains water here, but I have a bucket out the back of the shed just to collect some of the runoff from the repair that I did the other day. So that was super handy. So it's fresh rainwater that's gone into there. So yeah, so I must actually get the plans of the garden up. I did a little like digital drawing, can you call it that? I have no idea, I've never done it before. I just thought it might be easier than my scribbles on a page. So I just spent maybe half an hour or so putting this together. I'm just going to throw it up there now and I'm going to talk you through it. So as you can see, the last few weeks I have been putting up my raised beds, my in-ground beds, and I have put on what have I got out there at the moment? 2. So the plan is I think I've got room for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 beds all in all. And what I'm going to do is dedicate one bed to 1 or 2 crops. say like facing from the shed out the way. That's the left and right, so I'm going to do. Then I should be able to fit 5 beds down the left hand side, and then that will be, I'll come on to the crops that I'm growing in a minute. And then as you come up to the shed, obviously you'll have, the shed is going to stay where it is because it's going to be too big to obviously move. And then what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to have chickens this year because I feel like with the chickens, it's going to be a lot of dedication with me coming up here, being available to have time and space for them and that sort of thing. So I think I would love to have them, and I'm definitely not writing it out, but I don't think it's the right move this year, just considering like I'm still trying to finish my masters, obviously get the allotment up and running. Rubu's a handful in itself anyway, so I think I'm going to use the front end of the shed, which is where the roosting perches were, as a little storage area for, there's a stone in that, a little storage area for a large water container. Now I was given some great calculations on how to calculate the runoff of the water from the roof. So I do need to obviously get a new water butt for that, and maybe some extra additional storage that fills up in tandem as it goes along. So I think I'm going to stick a water butt there, install some guttering along the left hand side, and that should then be the final sort of semi-repair on the shed. And also there's nothing better than watering your plants with fresh rainwater. The plants love it so much more than tap water, and it would be such a privilege to have that up here. Now we do obviously have mains water up here that you saw last week with all the stuff plumbed in around the back, but I was told when I took on the plot that in the summer it can be quite challenging. I think we share the water with a farmer, and obviously he'd be filling up the troughs for the cattle and what other animals that he has. So you either have to be here super early in the morning, which shouldn't be a problem. I could probably do it on the way into work, or quite later in the evening. So just to have a little reserve of water wouldn't be a bad idea, I don't think. So I have a storage unit at the back that I have all the wood in that I showed you there in a previous video, and that's going to stay as a little storage unit for now because I just found it so useful. Actually, I cleared down this whole potting bench before I went in and did this today, and I was like, oh, I don't even know why I dumped all of the cardboard onto this potting bench, because I have all of that storage around the back. So when I go to do the rest of the beds, I'll be able to just nip in, get the the cardboard, and it will be ready for me. So, and it keeps this area free, which means I can just come in, drop down my cup of tea, drop down my plants. It keeps this area free and clutter free. So that's the idea for those 2 spaces. And then as you come round, obviously the shed will stay the same. I will obviously do some more work on this towards the end of this season, but I'm just very much trying to concentrate on getting the growing space ready, because I have big plans, as you would have seen from my big list of seeds that I've just shared with you. So then with that, what I'm hoping to do is move the flagstones around the very back so that it will allow, obviously it's wet round there, the flagstones will be able to mean that I'm able to walk around there and not feel like I'm a spaceman, because all the mud gets stuck to the bottom of my feet and I find it very hard to walk around. I know obviously it will dry up in the summer, but I'll be able to go around there. It'll be an area that I'm able to store stuff away, canes, that kind of thing. That'll be super handy. And then I will bring up my shed from the tiny garden at home. And then what that will do is that will go to the end of the shed. Like it'll be in line with this corner of the shed. And then obviously the flagstones will be up the way from that. And what it will do is it will close off this area for one reason that I'll get to in a little minute. So flagstones, and then as we come up, flagstones will be all along here, and then we're coming up to this corner here. So I spoke to you about it last week. I'm going to put in a little bed. It'll probably be a raised bed given the amount of trees and stuff that are there. I think I'm going to need my own supply of like additional nutrients, just given that I think there's laurel that's behind, and then there's some gooseberry bushes from the neighbour there. So I think I need to make sure that there's plenty nutrients and water that's not getting taken from the trees and shrubs that are here. And I might either going to do, or I'll probably do a mixture, is flowers and lettuces and salady type bits, because I anticipate that that bit will be a shady spot, I think, but I won't obviously know until the season's in full swing. So with that then means that this area will be kind of a chill space for me. I'll put in like a little table, little chair, so I can just obviously get some rest. And actually when most of the work's done, you know yourself, when it gets to the summertime, most of your stuff's done. When all your plants are in, you're just waiting for your crops to produce. So it'd be nice just to come up here and enjoy the space and sit and enjoy what I did and all the hard work that went into it. And it'll be a nice space to rest, but it also is going to be a perfect spot for Rue to be. So obviously I feel like it's a really friendly community up here. Lots of people pop by, they want to say hi, come onto the plot, which is absolutely fine. But Rue can be a little bit reactive. Obviously we got her when everything was in lockdown, so she wasn't massively socialised, and she's a guardian breed anyway. So she does err on the side of caution, particularly when she's in areas that she doesn't know, or if she's at home trying to guard the house. Obviously that's her territory. So I feel like it'll be a nice little spot for her, because other people do bring their dogs up. There's like a little three-legged dog, there's a little is it like a golden retriever, and then a couple of plots up there's a beautiful, he did tell me the breed of it, I can't remember, a miniature sort of like German shepherd, but like crossed with something, I'm not too sure. Anyway, but she roams around. They're all really, really well behaved compared to Rue. So they can all go around and socialise together, but she can't. So I feel like when people want to come in the plot, or there's other dogs around, particularly in the peak of the season, when I anticipate loads of people to be around, I'll be able to close off this area here with like a little gate. So this could be like a little pen then for Rue when I need her to just behave. Because we all know Rue does not like to behave. So that's this end of the plot. I'm going to finish putting up these, and I'm going to show you what's going on with the next bit of the plot, and I'm also going to show you the vegetable plan layout that I have for the area here. So I'm over halfway through this tray, and I actually think I'm going to have more pansies than I realised. I should have brought 2 trays with me. Not to worry, I'll pop the rest up when I get in. So I've only got one of these trays, and then the other tray half that's left is for my warm season crops. So I absolutely love pansies. I think they crop for a really long time. I've never actually done them from seed before, so this is a first time for me. And they are looking super healthy. So I literally just use like a spoon to push everything down. Nothing fancy, and then just backfill it with a tiny bit of compost. And then literally the weather's next week is supposed to warm up so much, so we're still getting kind of lows of about 3 to 5 degrees, which is a little bit chilly. But I think from next week the lows are around 8 to 10 degrees. There's definitely a significant rise for the next 10-day forecast for nice evening, nighttime temperatures, and daytime temperatures are going to be significantly warmer, which means I will be able to start sowing a few more things. And there's a big plant out for me next weekend, which I will film, because it is going to be the St. Patrick's Day bank holiday weekend. And if anybody knows, that's the weekend everybody in Ireland plants out their potatoes. So I have a good bit of work to do on the very first, well actually it'll be the second bed from the map that I've shown you of the plot, or the plans of the plot. So the first bed is obviously going to be where all that rubbish is at the minute that I need to obviously figure out how to get rid of it. I'm probably going to have to rent a van to get rid of most of it. I'm probably going to be able to take the electricals that are broken down to the recycling centre. So then that will be the first bed, and then up from there then is going to be the second bed, which is then going to be my potatoes. So it's riddled with weeds, so I'm going to need to go in and obviously clear all of those out. But I am going to do the potatoes in drills, which is the traditional way I was taught by my father, and I'm really looking forward to doing that. And I plant potatoes every year on Patrick's weekend because it's tradition, and you know what, it's nice to do things that are tradition. It gives you something to look forward to. And I had great spuds last year, even with the bad weather that we had. I did them in containers, but I did obviously potatoes up at my mother and father's house, and they did great harvests. And I do think it's the drill method is how they got the better harvest that they did. So whilst I'm doing mostly no dig beds with the cardboard and putting mulch on top, the spuds I'm doing slightly different. I may try no dig ones in the future, but for this year I've got to do it traditionally, the way my family taught me. So there's a good bit of work involved in that. It's going to be a lot of tiring work. So I may, even if the light is still good tonight, I might actually go out and just start getting some of them up. My neighbour still left me the pickaxe, so I should be able to maybe get a head start on that. And if I do get some more time, because the light's getting a bit better, isn't it? Like the evenings are getting a little bit longer. So I may even grab some of the cardboard that's out the back and put that down for the next bed, because I feel like I have a lot to do in time for spring. Now I know obviously everyone's saying it's not a marathon, it's not a race, but I have big plans. I have really big plans. I've got all of these seeds. I'm here to sow them, and I'm here to watch them grow, and I'm here to see this space transform in a matter of literally months. So I think although I might not get enough time to top it up with all the mulch, there's a massive mulch pile that actually was delivered, but it's a little bit good further walk away from the one that I did the last time. So even if I think I got maybe a head start and put down, say, the cardboard for one of these raised beds, then it gives me a head start then, doesn't it? Like it will start suppressing the weeds. And then all I have to do is come in and then top it with a bit of mulch, is what I'm thinking. So that's the plan anyway, if I get enough time. Because it's everything, time's everything. And then obviously as the season gets in, the evenings get longer. So it's probably not getting dark now until about 7 o'clock. And we are currently on about 4:30. And I still just want to enjoy my seed sowing. Like, I find this so therapeutic. Pricking out little seedlings. I could do this all day. I really could. Although I ran out of tea and I haven't figured out how to do an outside like kettle situation. I do need to also figure that out. I know I can get like those, what are they called? They're not called mega boils. What are they called? You know, those camping boil, instant jet boil things. I could use that, but I do like the idea of having a nice like open fire just with like a little grate on top and a little camping stove. I did try and make a fire the other day, which actually was okay, but I didn't leave enough air vents in the bottom of that galvanized sort of container. So I think I might use some of the wire that's kicking around the plot, because we know I have plenty chicken wire on this plot. And what I might do is put that as a ball in the bottom of the galvanized container for now, and then just get like a little grate to go on top, and then I could be able to heat up a cup of tea, because my tea ran out and I could drink about 6 cups of tea and coffee a day. Probably not good for me, but it's what keeps me going. You're all wondering where I get the energy from to do this plot and this allotment. It's caffeine. Caffeine is the source. But I think it would be really cool as well, like to actually set up a little cooking station as well whilst I'm up here. Like, I could smell it the other day when I was up here. The guy behind me, I think it is, he just comes up of a morning and then obviously sets up the fire. You can smell the rashers and the sausages like cooking away, and it smells unbelievable. So I'm really wanting to jump on that, and I felt very left out. I'm sure if I went round there he would have offered me some, but I wasn't going to be cheeky. And I'd already had my breakfast before I come up here, but I think it would just be that lovely sort of like outdoory sort of experience. So I'm just literally gently prizing these apart. I've got literally my last row. I have a few left, and then I'm just popping them in. So I literally have never sown so many flowers in my entire life. I am feeling super proud of myself. I'll give these a good drink, and I'm just going to pop them outside because it's still sunny, and give them a little bit of sunlight, because they've been in the house mostly. So I do need to start hardening them off. Doing the little seed shuffle. I did plenty seed shuffling last year, in, out, down that little tiny bit of patio in the home garden. Rue was always there. I remember I dropped my cucumbers last year and I was devastated because it took so long for my cucumbers to germinate, and the Louisa F1 that has germinated now didn't germinate for me. So I was really panicking that I wasn't going to have like any cucumbers, and they were one of my most successful crops in the early years. I was like, oh, I can't have a kitchen garden without a cucumber, can you? So I remember I dropped the whole tray of 10, but they all survived. I think maybe one might not have. So I just need to slow down a little bit and take it a little bit slower with the whole harden off thing, and not drop my trays on the floor. That's why I invested in the green trays. There's a big long green tray. Ooh, there's a fly in here. Big green like reservoir that these sit into, so it means I'm going to be able to just pick them up and move them out rather than like balancing them like this out the door, because obviously that's how they fall on the floor. Okay, so on to the rest of the seeds. So 22 seeds going in today. What's the date today? Just so I know. The 10th of March. So just coming into mid-March, and we're going to have 22 seeds going in. It's very exciting. I cannot wait. So where did I get to in terms of the plans? Let me pull the plans up. So yeah, explained 5 beds, flagstones, what I'm doing with the side of the shed in terms of the water butt, and then I have Rue's little corner just to keep her out of trouble. And it means as well, like, I don't have to be watching her the whole time. I mean, usually she started to settle here a little bit. She's starting to like lay down a little bit and like watch over me now, like what she would do at home. I think she's kind of getting her bearings, which is really nice. I do need to get like a nice little space for her as well. So like when I put the stuff down, like I might bring up like a little bed for her, because I feel like she's missing her creature comforts, because I have so many blankets for her at home that I don't really have up here. And the ones I do have, they just get really muddy. So it might obviously get easier for me to find her a little nook, or when the grass grows, she might feel a bit more comfortable. But what am I like? Accommodating the allotment for Rue. But I wouldn't have her not up here. She's not here today because she'd only be crying, and all you'd hear is her crying. So I left her at home today. God only knows what I'm going to go home to, because we all know that she likes to protest when I leave her at home. So that'll be exciting. And then yeah, so I'll get a nice little gate there for the front. Don't know what style gate yet, whether to go for like a cast iron gate or maybe a wooden gate. I'm not too sure, but I think that'll be so nice. And then that kind of tides up the left-hand side of the garden. And then I have a little border in front of the first bed that goes the whole way up the length. And that's going to be a wood chip border. And then I'm going to put flowers the whole way around. So my little wild pansies, and I have some calendula, and have some posies, what are they called? Poppies, and have some other stuff that I'm going to obviously sow to put in there, that I might direct sow. And what I'm going to do there is I'm going to do a massive long brassica bed. Now I do obviously need to net the bed, keep it contained as best I can, because of the cabbage white butterflies. They absolutely love the cabbages. So I don't know whether I'm going to be able to this season build a whole system on a hinge that I can then lift the lid up to be able to get to the brassicas, or am I going to have to just use some netting with some hooping systems for the meantime. So ideally I'd like to build the one with the cage on top, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to. It's in the plans. If I get enough time, I obviously will do that, and we'll just see how the season goes, because I have so many big plans, and I can only imagine my plans are going to change. So that's the idea to start with. So I'm really looking forward to that, because whilst I did have successful brassicas in the home garden, they are not ideal to grow in a small space, even though you can. So I'm just going to label up some of these things so that I have some labels already written from last year. That's my purple basil one. So yeah, that's the overall plan. And then I do have an idea in terms of what veg is going into what. So I'm going to show you that plan now. And I had so much fun making this little plan. I even put little Rue's little paws on that plan, which I'm so happy about. And yeah, so there are a few new varieties in terms of what I'm growing. I think I went a little bit mad and I was like, I have so much space, so I get to grow everything. And then I realised when I was writing this plan that actually I don't know where I'm going to put my aubergines, I don't know where I'm going to put my fennel, and I have no idea if it's a good idea or not to grow corn, because I do want to grow corn. So I'm going to throw up on the screen there now the new plan. And what I have is, in the first bed I have put in that I'm going to be growing corn in a grid, because I do know you have to grow it in a grid, but I'll be honest with you, I don't know if corn is the best thing for a grower to actually be growing that's only kind of new to growing. Obviously this is my 3rd year in growing, and obviously my 1st year allotment growing, so I have no idea if that's beginner friendly or even if that's a good idea. So I'm open to interpretation and some advice on that one. And then I was going to split the bed then with a courgette, because I really missed my courgette last year. And then I think I definitely want it, like that's just, I feel like what my summer harvests were missing. So I really want to do that. And then on my next bed, I've obviously explained to you already, I will be doing my potatoes. I have 2 varieties of potato, and then I have a little salad potato as well that I can grow. And then I have the bed up from that is leeks. I do typically put my leeks in before, just drying these labels. Oh no, it snapped. Just drying the labels because I can't actually get my pen to work on them. But with my leeks, I typically put them in after my potatoes are in. But with that, like, I feel like they don't get enough time in the soil to grow. So like the leeks that I put in after my spuds this year, now albeit they were in containers, so they are more challenging to grow, they didn't do that well. So I think I'm just going to dedicate a whole bed to them this season and go from there. And that's what I'm going to do, because I want big leeks. Like I love at winter time to make like stews and things like that. Like and leek is just like the perfect accompaniment. And I love making soups and stuff in the winter. So leek and potato soup is a must. And I didn't really get to do that this year because I didn't have that many leeks. Like the leeks that I did harvest, I did obviously use, but I didn't get the most out of them. So I think if I dedicate a bed, put them in early in the season, then I should get some big, like stocky leeks, which I'll be super happy with. They're really like treasure of mine. I absolutely love cooking with leeks. So that's why I've decided to do that. I haven't quite got round to actually thinking what goes in after, say, like the likes of the potatoes and stuff come out. Like obviously I'll be sowing a second early. So from planting them, within 12 weeks of that second early going in, I'm pretty much going to be looking for another crop to go in to replace it, which I haven't quite round to. And then I also plan to do a winter garden. So like with cabbages and things like that. So I think those plans are to come, and learning how to garden in the winter is definitely something that I tried to start learning last year, but obviously now I have the space to be able to put stuff in over winter. Maybe this time next year I'll be harvesting stuff, so we'll see about that. So yeah, in terms of that, successional planting other than lettuce and spring onions, haven't quite got a plan for that. So I'd love to know actually, with me doing a dedicated leek bed, other than leeks, what else could I put in after the spuds come out? Because I'll only have one main crop variety row going in, which is my own saved seed. And I only have maybe 10, so I'll probably only have like one row of those to go in. And then the rest is literally going to be the second earlies. It's really hard to multitask and do this. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Just putting in, these are the brassicas that I'm just putting in. So just put in the cauliflower, the Brussels sprouts, and that was it. Yeah, cauliflower and the 2 varieties of Brussels sprouts. So they've just gone in. So if anyone has any helpful tips and advice for that potato bed, and any other bed actually, once it's harvested, what could go in, I'd love to know. So then moving up from that bed, I have it's like a misc salad bed at the minute. I haven't got my glasses on, so I can't actually see it. So I have like onions, celery, beetroot and lettuce. Now obviously I'm conscious that when it gets to winter, the lettuces aren't going to do that great because of the weather, depending on obviously how well the summer goes. So I may change that bed up. That bed is kind of not set in stone now. None of these plans are actually set in stone at all. It's just my first sort of wish list in terms of what I'm growing. I think I've pretty much captured every vegetable on that plan that I want to harvest and grow this year. Everything is what I would be buying from the supermarket regularly anyway. So it's definitely all food that I like to eat. And then up from that is some carrots and parsnips. Now obviously I have some dedicated space already to carrots and parsnips in my home garden, but I can never have enough carrots and parsnips, and I didn't have any parsnips last year, and I need a place to successionally sow as well. So once they're picked and they're growing, and I've got loads of carrot varieties. I think I have 4 or 5 carrot varieties. So I think that will be super beneficial, but that bed isn't quite ready yet. I need to obviously dig over the soil and make sure it's like no dig friendly and loosen it up so I don't get forked carrots and all that. So there's a bit of work in before that bed goes in. Then the closest bed to the shed, what I want to do is my pumpkins. So I have an umpteen amount of pumpkin seeds at home that I want to plant all of them. I need a few archways, but there's only so many projects I can do at one time, and I think I need to prioritise getting my greenhouse over the archways. So I think it will be so cool to grow them. I can maybe let them go wild, or if I get time and the resources to actually do them up archways, then I will do that. But I've got 3 varieties. I think I definitely want, I was obsessed with the Crown Prince last year, and I have an open, they're an F1 variety, but I actually got myself a New Zealand version, which is an open pollinated heirloom variety that looks very similar, has like dense flesh, sweet, meaty type thing. So I think it's very similar. So I'm going to grow that. Looks very similar. And then I'm going to grow that one. I have a kabocha, which I tried to grow last year and obviously decapitated in the process. And then I also have what other one do I have? I can't remember the variety, but I put an orange picture up on the bed, so I can't remember what variety it was. I'll have to put the name up on screen for what variety that is. And they're my pumpkins because they are great roasted, they are great in soups, and I really, really, really enjoyed the soup and the little cake that I made last year, because I do love to obviously eat everything that I grow. I grow it for fun, but I also grow it to eat it. So that's the beds on the left hand side, and then obviously my brassicas on the opposite side. I've just got a mixture of all sorts of brassicas, kohlrabi, cabbage, that will go in at different stages. I'm just not ready to put them in yet, so I haven't sown them yet, so I won't be doing any spring cabbages or summer cabbages. I'll probably be prepping that in the summer for winter cropping type varieties. I will be sowing kale, and obviously I've sown the sprouts, so that will give me a bit of like a kick to get that brassica bed done. But obviously I've got a lot of debris down that side. I've got the trailer down there, I've got bits of wood that I cleared from last week all down that side that I need to clear out in order to get that space some way ready. And then obviously I have all the junk that's at the front that I also need to get rid of. So I probably need to hire a van, and I don't know if he doesn't collect his trailer. Have I inherited a trailer? Like, I wouldn't want anybody, I wouldn't want it to go missing, like on my watch. So like, it does worry me a little bit that he hasn't come to collect it. So I wouldn't, and as you know, I don't even know how to use a trailer because I don't even know how to move it. You all got, a few of you got a bit of a laugh off me moving the trailer there a few times, and then you were kind enough to tell me that I was pulling the trailer from the wrong end, and it would made it so much easier for me to pull it from the front end, the bit that's like laying into the ground. So a lot with this allotment journey is I haven't a clue what I'm doing. I just go in guns blazing and just like hope it works out. But it's been so much fun so far, and it feels so nice to actually like take a step back today and like not have to be like lifting and lumping. Although it's been good fun, I've really enjoyed it. It's nice just to take a slow weekend as well, because it can all happen really, really fast. So I feel like it's nice just to take a moment and just reflect. Even being up here looking out on the plot today, just like, I know there's not much going on and I've only got 2 little raised beds there. Raised beds? I keep calling them raised beds. In ground, no big beds. I think it's because I'm so used to saying raised beds from my home garden. I just feel like it's a really peaceful place to be. I've really enjoyed being up here with the birds tweeting. It's just like my little tranquil space. Just, I didn't think I would love it as much as I do, which is so nice. And then to share all the experiences and the knowledge I'm learning from people telling me about their spaces, and you know, even people telling me that they've put their name down for allotments and things, like, and then a couple of months go by and then I get the update that they're getting their allotment space, and it just fills me with so much joy. It sounds like a little bit cliche, but I genuinely just really love it. And hearing about everybody's plans, what they're growing, what they plan to grow, even down to like what weather people are having. It just, I find it genuinely fascinating. But yeah, it's a good space. Go fill the rest of these up with water and then get onto my tomatoes. So I just filled up my 2 pots of water for my herbs, and then I just labelled everything because I found it really hard to write the labels down of what I'm doing and talk at the same time. And I want to make sure that my tomato labels are perfect because I need to keep track of all of the tomato varieties that I have, because I think most of them are actually heirloom varieties. So if I save a tomato from each plant, I should be able to then save the seed from them. Because now I have the space, I'm hoping to take a little bit more effort to do that. Well, I say effort, I never really had the space before to be able to do it. But this year I might be able to, and even say like my sweet peas, even if I can do those, that would be a massive win, because I only got like 15 seeds in that packet and it was like a little bit pricey for 15 seeds, and I think only 10 of them germinated. So I ran out of labels, so I'm using some more masking tape, and I'll just stick those around the very base of this container. So just gonna fill in some of these holes, and I'm going to do 2 or 3 seeds of each of the tomatoes. So a bit of a different style video for me today. Everything's usually action packed and me like lifting things and nearly knocking myself out with bits of things that are around the allotment. So do let me know if you do like this style of video. Maybe I should have done it as like a live, so it could have been interactive with you guys, because I feel like I have just sat here for the last like hour chatting to you about my plans and stuff, and it probably would have been nice to be able to interact with a few of you. I'm not sure if I have the full setup to be able to do a live, but it's an option. I'd be really nervous, I think. You know, I've never done it before, and filming in general is quite new to me. But I am very much enjoying it. I get very excited to come out and film in the allotment and the garden. And I think since having the allotment, I have had a little bit more freedom, which has been really, really nice. So do let me know if you do like this style of video. It's a lot of information, I know, and less music and things, but maybe it's an opportunity for you to get to know me a little bit better. So I'm gonna finish up sowing all of these seeds. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the plans that I shared with you. I will show you the plans of the tiny garden next week, because there are a plethora of crops missed off of the list from what I've shown you here. So a lot of those you will see in maybe next week, maybe the week after this video. But yeah, it's been really fun to hang out, and I will see you all very, very soon. Bye. Shake off the stress, shake off the stress. Oh, just have fun, just have fun. This is the pep talks that I have to do to myself. Okay, we're all on, we're all on. Flip that the other way. Camera's on, lovely.